Hey, what is happening, Cowboys Nation? And welcome to the long bye week. And, if it wasn't bad enough that we were coming off a horrendous loss to the Lions where we didn't force one single punt,
Hmm.
our owner decided to give us a whole lot to talk about this week.
Yes.
And, um, yeah, yeah. So we'll get to that. It's not quite yet. But we can happily say that we can all enjoy a very carefree Sunday where our team on the field will not disappoint us this weekend.
Yeah,
So
a
I
little
hope
bit of stress-free
exactly.
football watching.
Right, right. And my Huskies decided somewhere the football god said the Huskies will have a bye and the Cowboys will have a bye.
Ooh, that's
So
nice.
I'm really going to enjoy football this weekend. But we are only going to briefly go over the Lions game. And like I mentioned, that we didn't force one single punt the entire game. And
It's kind of been talked about ad nauseum this week throughout a bunch of different content creators, obviously different media members that cover the Cowboys. It was a disaster, like of epic proportion. Like everything that could have gone wrong in that game went wrong, except Brandon Aubrey. And so you have everything going wrong, nobody's playing well, and it's just where do you go from there? You know, the Lions, I think, in my opinion, and I think it was kind of obvious as well. The Lions went in there to prove a point. They were very angry from last year's with the Cowboys beating them last year. And when they smelt blood, they went after it. You could see with them trying to get Dan Skipper a touchdown. You could see with them just trying to run up the score as much. They weren't stopping. They were
no,
doing everything they could to try to embarrass the Cowboys team, and they did.
yeah,
They did.
they used it as an opportunity to try plays that they want to try to in the future in the season. And they were running them on us and they were running them well. The other thing I noticed is I think that they had been looking at how Trayvon Diggs has not been targeted all season.
Hmm.
And I think maybe they saw some of the things that he's not the same Trayvon. He is not the
It
all
takes a
pro.
while.
Yeah, it takes a while to come back from that injury, and he's not doing some of the things that he used to do. And they decided to throw at him, and it paid off.
Yeah. And then
I
they
mean,
decided to run at him, which
yeah,
we all know that Trayvon is not the most physical cornerback in the run game. It's
right.
not his game. We understand that. We know that. It's kind of what you sacrifice for a great cornerback. And I mean, Deion Sanders, we all know that Deion Sanders didn't want to tackle anybody, but everybody consensually knows that like he's the greatest cover corner to ever play the game. Like sometimes that happens. So Diggs was getting better pre-injury at his run defense, but it looks like he's kind of reverted back to that. And so, with the amount of injuries the defense had, um, the Lions' offense, we came into this. We went into that. We talked about it last week. It was going to be a very, very difficult game for the Cowboys defense. Like even if fully healthy, that's a really good Detroit Lions offense.
Hmm.
Um, I
One
think
of the
the
best
big,
offensive lines they'll probably see all season.
oh yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest disappointment for me was the offense
Hmm.
because besides Brandon Cook, like the offense is there. Like
Right,
they didn't have
right.
that many. There's not a lot of people out on the offense like there is on the defense. So the offense coming out flat and playing as bad as they did uh, really was probably the biggest disappointment to me in the entire game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. They absolutely could not get anything going. And here we're coming off a game where we're like, oh, Rico Dowdle was able to run the ball and get it going. And then our offensive play calling,
Well,
it,
we know we have a terrible offensive play caller.
Mhm.
That's something you got to live with. Um, he is one of the worst in the league. at calling plays. And it doesn't make sense to me, like you just said, that we have Rico Dowdle who comes off, we talked about it last week, his best game of his career against a really good Pittsburgh defense, and he played really well on the offensive line, blocked pretty well for him. And then we turn around and Zeke gets more carries than Rico Dowdle. And it's like, why are we reverting back to this?
Do you think it has anything to do with the comment the week before as to why he got more?
I hope not. I honestly hope not, because if that's the case, then what happened was Zeke complained and Jerry called Mike into his office and said, hey, I want Zeke to get more touches. Because a coach knows that players complain about playing time. It happens all the time in the league. Coaches understand that. It's part of football. Players are going to complain about their touches, how they're not being used right, and everything like that. That doesn't automatically mean that we got to do what this player is asking, unless you have someone like Jerry Jones as an owner,
right,
who we know dabbles in that, who we know sits in as the owner, sits in on the weekly meetings and the players meetings and the coaches meetings and discusses the team with we know that. We've seen it. They showed it on Hard Knocks and the Amazon show. I'm drawing a blank, All or Nothing. We've seen him. He goes into these meetings, at the offensive play calling meeting, like the head coaches meetings, like he's in there running the meeting rather than the head coach a lot of the times. So if it is Zeke, if that's the case, and Zeke it's reverting back to those comments of Zeke, hey, I need the ball more, and that's the reason, then it probably means that Jerry called Mike in and said, hey, make this happen.
Yeah. And Lacey in the chat, hey Lacey, she said they need to play Hunter more, in her opinion, and I absolutely agree. Once again, underutilization of someone that really could make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a rough game to watch, and it's a rough game to talk about. It's those type of games that make the midweek rewatch and going back and looking at film really difficult, because you're sitting there like, do I really want to go through this again? Do I really want to watch this again? And it's hard. And I'm not even the player. Imagine how the players feel. Imagine how the players feel going back and looking at that tape and seeing how bad they played.
Did you rewatch the whole thing? I did not.
I have not finished rewatching the whole thing. I'm taking bit by bit. I've watched part of the first quarter. That's as far as I can get.
For my own mental wellness, said enough. I can't do it.
So I got a question for you.
Okay.
And I didn't prep you for it, so I apologize. Just because I saw it like 5 minutes ago before we got on the air. Well, 5 minutes before we got on the air. As you know, I'm sure you saw, Dak Prescott got engaged this week.
Yes, congratulations.
And so congratulations to Dak. Congratulations
Sarah.
To Sarah.
Great. MJ.
Awesome. Little MJ, awesome pictures, everything like that. Proposed on a golf course is beautiful. There's a picture, the last picture of Dak's post, where they're at like a restaurant and Dak's holding up a glass of wine, and Dak's middle finger on his throwing hand is wrapped up.
Yep.
Is that from when he hit his finger on the helmet in the game?
Yep. That's exactly when it was from. Exactly. And I guess our saving grace is that it's happened on the long bye week.
Mm-hmm.
So silver lining. We're finding some silver lining. But yeah, that's exactly, I saw that happen and I thought, perfect. That's exactly how this game is going. And that's exactly how it, should be here.
Yeah. PJ, I understand.
Yeah, PJ, I get it. We had to self-medicate.
So that's something I think to look at, because they haven't really talked about that. So that's something that I noticed there in the pictures. That's something to monitor over the rest of the week and next week and practice and see how he's
We'll
doing
see.
getting ready
Yeah,
for
we'll see if
49ers
it comes up on the injury
if
report.
it's impacting his throwing, because it is his throwing hand.
Right. Right.
Since they haven't really mentioned anything about it, I'm thinking it's not that big of a deal. I'm thinking maybe it's just a little bruised. Maybe it was cut. I don't know.
Jammed
Maybe
or
it was
something.
jammed or something like that. But I wish I had time before. I literally just saw it before getting on here. I would have brought up a picture and had pulled it up. So we got to pay attention to that. But that's the Lions game. If something could have gone wrong, it went wrong outside of the world's greatest kicker in Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, we can count on butter.
So,
yeah, Lacey said he went golfing.
He went golfing.
Right.
That's fair. That is fair, Lacey. That is fair.
He does have to be able to grip it. So you're right.
Yeah. Grip it and rip
like
it.
You said, we're at the point of being a Cowboy fan this year that we're looking for the silver lining in anything we can, and here we are, kids.
Seriously.
So,
okay. What's the next topic we got?
Let's just get it off the table. Let's get it out of the way. Jerry Jones, once again, he did what he loves to do, and he had the entire country, he had the entire sports world talking about him.
Does it every bye week, it feels like, every year.
Honestly, and you know what? It's so on brand for him. I mean, who waits until an hour before the season starts to sign their star quarterback? You know, it costs him so much money in cap space. We keep hearing about cap space, and the way that I was about to say was CD. The way they delay things to make themselves look so much better. And Jeff Kavanaugh absolutely nailed it this week when he said, do you think Jerry would be willing to be like 8th or 15th or whatever it is in sales and, concession sales and seats in the stadium for that one Super Bowl? Or would he, let me put it this way, would he give up being GM if it meant he could win a Super Bowl?
No.
Absolutely not. No. And he proceeded to go on. He goes on weekly on 105 with our friends on 105.3 The Fan, and it switches from, which show or whatever. And he was on with Sean and RJ and literally went ballistic. I mean, that was a power trip that he went on. Yeah. And I don't know many people except for a couple homers that actually agreed with him in that situation. I mean, I think everybody was team Sean at that point.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. It's exhausting at this point having him as an owner.
Look, he embarrassed himself. He embarrassed his family. He embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys. He embarrassed the NFL. He embarrassed the fans. Because what do we got to do? We got to put up with all these other fan bases making fun. Oh, look at this. Look at your owner's doing. I got tagged and stuff on that just from people. And he just embarrassed everything. And here's the problem that I have. And I tweeted this out. And this is the problem, is that Jerry is so used to lying and spinning everything when it goes wrong or something happens. He's so used to lying about it and spinning it that's second nature to him. But now we're in an era where everybody has access to the internet. And not only do you have access to the internet, you have access to the little things, the intricacies of how the league works and the money, and all this stuff is open to the public. And there you go, Tyler, 100%. All this information is open to the public. So when he says something now, Joe Smo and Flower Mound can go Google it and look it up, or go follow Warren Sharp or whatever and find out all this information that he's lying. And he's finally being called on that information, and he's pissed. And he's taking it out now on the local radio hosts who are just doing their job, asking questions like Jeff Kavanaugh said, questions that any legitimate reporter would ask any GM in the league.
Right.
Basic team building questions. And he's
and questions
threatening them, threatening their jobs.
Right.
when they
And
don't even work
questions,
for him.
honestly, to tell you the truth, they are getting to be able to ask him questions and getting so deep that maybe a lot of GMs wouldn't have to face it because they would already lost their jobs.
Yeah.
They would not have a job if someone was as bad at being GM as Jerry is. They zero chance that they would be sitting behind that desk.
Well, he's been getting chirpy all year because he knows how bad he did this. And like he said a month or so ago, hey, nobody can do this better than I can. Are you serious?
Right.
Everybody's doing this better than you are right now. Like,
Right.
it's bad. You're doing a terrible job. You've even admitted in years past that if you were a GM, if a GM had your track record, you would have fired him. You would have fired him. So how can nobody be doing it better than you? How are teams winning Super Bowls but nobody can do it better than you? It just doesn't make logical sense. And honestly, I believe that he's a little snippy and everything like that, but they see it like they did. I don't know why they didn't fire Mike McCarthy. When McCarthy's in his last year of his contract, they're not going to invest in a team in a coach's last year. And I think it's proof in what they did in the offseason, and I think it's proof of what they're doing now. They're not going to invest in this team from outside resources and a coach in his last year because they want to bring in a new coach and they want him to start fresh. So if that's the case, why not just fire McCarthy and bring in a coach this year? I don't know. But you could see it them doing nothing this offseason. You could see it in the draft picks they picked. I said it during the draft. They drafted a bunch of guys with a ton of potential, but who were not NFL ready yet. And you see it right now where a lot of these guys are starting, not playing great because they're not NFL ready yet, but they have a ton of potential. And it's embarrassing that he made these choices. Just stand on the choices you made. It's embarrassing that he made these choices and then he's snapping at the media for asking him perfectly legitimate questions.
Yeah, I can honestly tell you in all the years, decades of being a fan of this team, I have never been more embarrassed of being a fan of this team. I mean, I have friends that come at me and I'm like, yep, you're absolutely right.
What can you say
nothing.
now?
I got nothing. I
Yeah.
have nothing. I have nothing to snap back about. I have nothing on it. And the sheer fact that, and honestly, I mean, I think he's trying to hide that they are like, he thinks that they're in a soft rebuild, that's what they're going for, but they don't want any of us. Once again, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
But this is what we're going to do.
Well, I got a question for you, Cam, because Jeff Kavanaugh asked this, and I want to know what you think. And chat, people listening, watching, please put it in what you think. He doesn't want these people snapping at him. He doesn't want these he doesn't want these questions. Well, he's the owner. He's the GM. Who are they supposed to ask? He's responsible for the entire team as the owner, and he's responsible for team construction as the GM. Who are you supposed to ask? Okay, don't ask you. It shouldn't be. He doesn't have to answer those questions. Who should they ask then?
Here's the thing is he and his ego and his need for the national media or any kind of media to be paying attention to him. What other owner do you know goes on a weekly radio show and talks about the team? What owner do you know? GMs hardly do that. And here he is putting himself in that spot every single week during the season. Well, not everybody's going to shill for you. And that's one of the beauty things of what we have here. Jerry doesn't pay us. We get to say whatever we want right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he puts himself in that situation to be subjected to this.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, if I'm giving you my money, and over the years, I can't tell you the tens of thousands of dollars I have given this organization, maybe merchandise, ticket sales, parking alone at AT&T is the same cost as actually going to some other games. like your ticket to get in. And I think at some point in time, I need to understand what you're doing or the lack of not doing. I mean,
Yeah.
we can start down the line, free agency. I mean, we can just keep going down the line of these inadequacies we keep seeing. And I'm sorry, we would like to know.
Yeah, it's just accountability. Take accountability for your own actions. Like anybody here, anybody listening, you have a job, you do your job poorly, you're gonna be held accountable. You're gonna have to answer to somebody. Even if you're the owner of the company, you got to answer to somebody. You got to answer to the people that work for you. You're paying them. If you're making bad decisions and your company's going under, they're gonna want, hey, what's up with my job? Do I have job security? What's going on? So it's accountability. You got to answer to these people, and especially when you're a multi-billion-dollar company or team, and you have this big following, and like you said, you're putting yourself out there in front of people. You're putting yourself in front of a microphone, in front of reporters who ask questions, and then you're getting mad that they're asking you questions that you don't like. Why are you doing a weekly radio show then?
Right. And then
If
he
you don't
tried to
want,
cover it up by talking about he signed Dak and CD all week. Like, here's your
yeah,
pacifier. This is going to make it all okay. You guys just
and
forget
then
about what I did.
what makes it worse, I think, is not he didn't stop at just doing that radio show and talking, threatening to fire them and everything like that. He then went and found other reporters to continue talking trash about them.
Yeah, he went after Dale Hansen and Brad Sham. I mean,
What's her name?
Did he go
I
after
can't.
Jane?
No. He
No.
went to I can't remember her name right now. Another NFL reporter. She's good, and he went to her and she wrote a story about this situation and about more. He got more quotes. He gave more quotes about they shouldn't be asking. It shouldn't be my guys asking me these questions. Like, what? That's
No.
their job.
Right.
That is their job, and you're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your organization, and you're embarrassing the NFL brand. Like, honestly, like Rossini. There you go, Tyler. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rossini. Yes, he went to her. So it's there. Thank you, Frankie. It's an issue for the brand of the NFL, I think. If you have an owner attacking media coverage, how do you think the NFL, why do you think they fine players for not talking to the media? The media helps drive the NFL product. So it's an issue for the NFL as well. Because if you have an owner attacking and threatening to fire media members, that's an issue.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to even express, and like I've never seen an owner do something like that, and I feel bad for the guys at the Fan, because there has been speculation and trash talk on a lot of those guys that they're just bought and paid for. They say what the company men, they say what, and this just kind of fed into that. Some people are like, some people saw it as hey, they were kind of standing up against him asking these questions. But then with Jerry coming out and be like, oh, I can fire you. Oh, these are the guys I pay. I don't pay you to ask me questions like that. Kind of just feeds into that narrative. And unfortunately, not true. They don't work for him. Yes, they are the official radio station of the Dallas Cowboys, but they do not work directly for Jones. And I think you saw with the answers, the questions they were asking, and them defending themselves through this week, which they should have. It's pretty clear, they stood their ground, and kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would absolutely love to see what their ratings were the next morning.
Oh yeah.
Good for another silver lining. Look at us looking for the silver lining. But,
there we go.
Yeah, that actually used to be my pinned tweet. That used to be my pinned tweet until my tweet this week, which is, you maybe due compensation if you've been a victim of the Cowboys for the last 28 years. So
okay, let's move on from this unfortunate incident with Jerry.
Yeah,
And
it feels like
just
we were at Thanksgiving dinner and your uncle did something really, really wrong.
it's embarrassed the family, Yeah.
Exactly. You're just like,
Gosh,
"Oh,
man.
no. No more
Seriously.
family dinners right now."
Really.
So, um, did you prepare anything for us today?
I got a little something.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to apologize because I haven't made the new graphic for it,
Mm.
but we are bringing back, we are reviving one of our segments that we did midday when we did middays, and that was midday mass. But now we are having Friday night mass, and I'm going to let you take that because that's all you.
Yeah. So I think as we sit here Friday night and the players, if there's any players watching or if they see this later on, it really there needs to be a gut check of sorts. And they said it in the locker room. Mike McCarthy's been preaching it, but like look in the mirror and kind of hold yourself accountable for the way you're playing and hold yourself accountable for what you're doing and how you're contributing. And unfortunately, you're not getting a great example from your owner on that. But these players really need to look deep down in themselves. These players need to look as deep as they can and figure out who they are and what they want to be. Because right now, it's not a good product. Right now, it's not working. They're not playing well together. They're squabbling over individual play. Who's doing this? Who's doing that? You got a wide receiver who's runs questionable routes at times where you're thinking, oh, he's not really giving it all his all, pouting on the sideline. You know, you got guys who are fighting, who are more concerned with what people are saying online about them. More concerned with talking trash to other players. You got people who are talking trash to players on a team that just destroyed you. What are you doing? You need to look inside yourself and you need to decide who you are and what you're going to be. And you need to figure it out and put it together and come together as a team, work it out as a team, and then put a quality product on that football field. Because if you don't, you're going to get a lot more a lot more games like Sunday, and a lot less games like last year where you played well and you played like a team. So this bye week, last year, you guys came together on a bye week. Last year, you figured out something and you made it work. You need to do it again this year. If it's a kumbaya, bring the team together, then it's kumbaya. But you need to figure out something and get a better product on the field.
And go do what is it, a couple Hail Marys or whatever. You're supposed
Say
to
your
go
Hail
and do
Marys.
and,
Say your
be,
Hail Marys.
and go in peace, my
And you're
child.
forgiven and go play football.
Right. Okay. Um, this one's a little bit more fun. Let's do something a little bit more fun at this point. And okay. At first, I was just going to say one player off of any roster that you could grab right now. We're not bringing Catboy into it. We're not bringing salary. We are not bringing into any kind of trade, draft picks, anything. You were able to pluck one player off of any roster. But you know what? Now I'm going to change it up a little bit. One defensive player and one offensive player
Ooh,
off of
okay.
any roster. So let's start with defense first. Who is it? Where are they from? And how are they going to do it?
How are they going to get them?
No, not how they're going to get it. What difference you feel they're
Okay.
going to make on how is it going to help the team?
Yeah. So defensive player, I am going and I'm going to get Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs because Chris Jones is an absolute monster, arguably the best defensive player in the league right now. And the reason really why I want Chris Jones over, a Myles Garrett, because they're both playing really well. Chris Jones is dominating from every position right now in the NFL. And mostly he is a defensive tackle, and he's killing it there, but he's also moving around and he's playing defensive end. And the Chiefs are doing something really smart with him. Basically, the Chiefs are just saying, hey, go there and figure out where you want to line up. Go there and figure out where you think you have the best matchup. So if you watch the Chiefs right now, Chris Jones is literally looking at how the offense and looking at their formation and saying, okay, hey, I'm going to rush from here. You move over. I'm rushing from here. And he's just playing and he's dominating right now. And since we're so depleted on the defensive line, and then even when Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence come back and everything like that, you can have Jones in the middle. You can switch Jones and DeMarcus Lawrence. He's just such a chess piece on that defensive line, and it would just he would kill it on this defensive line. Obviously, with Micah Parsons, you can't double team both of them. So that's who I would go get is Chris Jones, because I think he would completely dominate on this team.
So Massey and I do not discuss our answers
Mm-mm.
before we come on the air. We give we have the topic. We don't discuss our answers. And you just took mine. Thank you very much. So
I had a backup one too, just in case you.
I have a backup one. Go ahead, call me a homer. It's Vita Vea. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grab Vita because I want that big, mean kind of guy in the middle. I'm tired of us hemorrhaging in the run game. And, if we have that strength in the middle, that's just going to make our linebackers better. And I think that would help out Kendricks. We already know Overshown is that strong guy, but that would give him that extra. And so the linebackers would be shored up even more. And, kind of like we talked about with Diggs, he's not a downhill come at him kind of guy. But if you had that situation, it might make it,
yeah,
as much. And then, the safeties have a hard job as it is already. And even if the guy's been slowed down a little bit when they've got to come down to make that stop, at least you've got that big old guy who's not afraid to spit out his tooth and continue on and play there in the middle. So my backup was Vita.
I love it. That's another great pick. Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted Vita Vea in that draft too. So can't hate on that one. Who you got for offense?
Well, just to stay with the Tampa Bay Bucks, I'm Tristan Wirfs. I want that guy. Ooh. I want that guy protecting Dak's blind side. I want him next to Tyler Smith. So we have no issues and worries about that. And I just think I know Tyler Guyton has had his moments, but he's young and he's not fully seasoned, and we did flip him from the other side. So there still is that learning process.
Yep.
And yeah, it's not completely solid, and it's going to take him some time. So I might move him back over to the right side and put Tristan over there on the left and have him next to Tyler Smith and maybe not have any worries over there at all. So
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a guy from a guy we just saw. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That's a good one.
He is fantastic. I get it. Like, I could go with a guy like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or something like that. I get it. I'm not saying Amon-Ra is better than those guys. I think Amon-Ra would fit so perfectly with this offense and paired with CeeDee Lamb, because Amon-Ra is such a good possession interior, and like, he just runs such good routes and he gets open. He finds those holes in the middle and gets open, and that's going to allow CeeDee Lamb, and they both can play outside.
And you can flip. I was going to say, you can flip them. You don't know which one's going to be in the slot. Exactly.
And I just think they would pair so well together. And
can we have both? Can we get both of them?
Seriously, Amon-Ra would be able to alleviate so much pressure off of CeeDee Lamb and off of Dak, and I just think he's a world-class player, and so I think that would free up the other guys. That would free up CeeDee Lamb. You start rolling, it gets Dak rolling, allows the offensive line, Amon-Ra gets open quickly, so it allows the offensive line, hey, Dak can get the ball off quicker, build that confidence along the offensive line is, hey, we're blocking pretty well. Dak's not getting hit, excuse me. So that would be my choice with on the offense is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's also a Trojan, so that doesn't hurt.
Right. And then just for fun, I would get a new head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator.
Let's do it. Who's your head coach choice?
We just played him last week.
I think he auditioned for our team. It's Ben Johnson.
What, does he want to come? Does he want to come here?
It's got to be Ben Johnson. And if Jerry Jones was not impressed with what Ben Johnson put on the field, on display on that field on Sunday, there's nothing that's going to impress him because, yeah, he was showing off. He was pulling out a lot from his playbook. And so Ben Johnson is who I want. Absolutely.
And my defensive coordinator choice just got fired and is free.
Yes. What do you think?
Well, so we could put him on the practice squad with Dalvin Cook?
I was going to say, so he can get less carries than Zeke Elliott?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great. It'd be nice. There's thoughts now that the Saints are doing so bad that Alvin Kamara could be on the block. Is this front office actually going to do that? Because there's a lot of words saying that no matter what, at the end of the season, they are releasing Kamara because no extension has been reached, anything like that.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. I mean, we have Dalvin Cook is sitting there on a practice squad. When in the history of his career or of this, did you ever think that Dalvin Cook would be sitting on a practice squad? Honestly.
Yeah, it's hard. Let me just say this first is that this team isn't going to go out and get anybody because, again, I don't think they're going to invest resources in Mike McCarthy and Mike McCarthy's team. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's going to happen. For Dalvin Cook's situation is a little weird for me because you would think he would be called up already. He is younger than Zeke. You would think he would be called up already. My question is that he's only on the practice squad. Anybody can pluck him, but nobody's plucking him right now. So maybe there's something going on with Dalvin Cook.
I thought veterans have the choice not to go.
They have the choice not to go.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But
because after 3 years, somebody can't be just
honest,
grabbed.
I mean, do you think if somebody called Dalvin Cook and said, "Hey, we want you to bring you to our active roster, or you can stay with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad," what do you think he's doing? I think he would jump ship. Right. I think he would go to an active roster. Why would he want to stay on a practice squad? So I don't think anybody's really given him a call. So I'm wondering, maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe there's something we're not seeing. Maybe he's not fully healthy. Maybe there is some concerns about his health. He's always had health issues. Maybe it's more serious than we know. I don't know for 100% sure. This is just pure speculation.
Right.
Don't go out there saying that I'm saying Dalvin Cook's not healthy. But I'm wondering if he's not, because there's no other I'm saying this because I can't think of another legitimate, logical explanation of why he hasn't been called up.
Right. And Patty, I need Jonathan Brooks to come back because he's sitting in IR in one of my fantasy teams, and I desperately need him to because I had Pacheco on that in that league, and I have been struggling and trying to rely on Ramondre Stevenson and
it's hard because Chuba's been playing good. Chuba has been playing good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Where are we at?
100%. We've discussed that. That. So I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know where Dalvin Cook is. I haven't seen him in practice. I don't know how he looks. So, but it does make me wonder. He's not being called up. Obviously, our run game's not great right now. He's not being called up. No other team are calling him and asking him to come on board. So, what's the holdup? Is he healthy? Is he able to truly play? Um, yeah. And
It's
this is also a
sad.
legitimate thing. This is very legitimate because who who you take it down for him, you know? Because you
And
can
it
say
could be
Zeus,
and money. We
yeah,
always know with Jerry, it's about money.
you can say Zeus, but Deuce Vaughn, but Deuce isn't even on the active roster. He's active roster, but he's not on the game day rosters.
Yeah,
So are you
he's healthy
if you're
scratch each
clamoring
week.
for him to be on the active roster and not the game day roster, it's basically the same thing. He's not playing.
Hmm.
So it's either you gotta bring down Zeke, Rico, or Hunter,
Yeah.
and no one wants to bring down Hunter or Rico.
Mm-mm.
So it might be a loyalty thing. It might be a loyalty thing to Zeke, and it might be like Jerry Jones is making the call, like, "Hey, we're not sending Zeke down."
Do you see them ever taking a wide receiver down and bringing Delvin up, like Flournoy or
Okay,
Brooks or something like that?
that's hard because then you're gonna have what three? You're gonna have three running backs on the you're gonna have three running backs on the game day roster plus a fullback.
Yeah.
So it's not like the wide
And then
receivers
and
are
then
super
and
deep.
then Mike won't scheme to use them anyways, so they won't get
Yeah,
any touches. So
yeah. So
I tell you,
it's a Hunter definitely stays. Hunter needs to be used more.
yeah.
100% Lacey.
The only thing we know is that on first down that Mike's going to run the ball because that's what he does. I mean, when is the last huge explosive play? First down explosive play. Do you remember this team making this season?
This year, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Not that opening drive.
It's just
Wow,
obvious.
everybody just
It's just a
go
run.
for it kind of
Literally
thing.
every single game, I can tell you, every single game, the first play on offense is a run up the middle. Every single game.
Death,
Every
taxes, and we
single
are going to run
game.
it on the first
And it's
down.
almost always the first play of the game because Mike McCarthy is one of the few head coaches who decides to take the ball to start
Instead
the
of
game.
deferring it. And
So
then not to wow. I mean, if you're going to start if you just opt to have the ball first, then wow them, shut
yeah,
them up. That's the whole point of taking the ball first, because you've already decided that you don't want that opportunity to score at the end of the half and then have the ball back and be able to double dip. You've already made that choice. So if you're going to take the ball, you are trying to set the tone of the game and shut them up and score right from the beginning.
yeah,
Well, running the ball for
isn't going to
the
do that.
first two downs, and then God forbid we've committed a penalty, and now we're at third and 16, trying to dig ourselves out of a hole.
3rd and 16 run.
Or a short pass that's like 3 or 4 yards away from where we actually need to be, because that's super fun too.
This, I think, is a legitimate. I think this is more legitimate. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. I'm sorry. I think this one is more legitimate.
Yeah.
Because what is Luke doing for us right now?
He's
We
not
talked about it
blocking.
last week. We
He's
talked
not
about it
blocking
last
well.
week. Spanford is
Mhm.
getting just as much playing time with him and doing more. I'm noticing Spanford more than I'm noticing Luke. So maybe that's the option.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
So yeah,
Yeah, good times.
yeah.
Good
So okay,
times.
so let's move to the next thing. I want everybody in the chat to get involved on this one and throw out your predictions as well. Um, let's talk about what our win-loss record is going to be for the rest of the year. Your prediction on the win-loss for the rest of the year. We have 11 games left, right? 11 games. Yeah. What is
Mhm.
going to be your win-loss prediction for the rest of the year?
Okay. You know, I thought I had it in my head, but I'm gonna redo it.
I'll go ahead and give mine real quick.
Yeah, you do yours.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go team by team. I'm just I looked over the schedule, kind of break it down on what I see, and it's not going to be what everybody wants to hear. It's not. It's okay. I have us going 7-4 the rest of the way, and finishing at 10-7, and I have us just outside of the playoffs. So it's the worst possible position you can finish in. A good enough record where you're not going to get the best draft pick, but it's good enough but it's bad enough just to be right outside of the playoffs, so you don't get the playoff football and you don't get a great draft pick. So I don't know if I think it's the worst possible scenario, but knowing the Cowboys, I think that's what's going to happen.
What'd you say the rest of the year?
7-4, finish at 10-7.
You're being way more reasonable or up. I'm the exact opposite. Optimistic. I am at 4-7.
4-7. Wow.
I don't have the faith right now in the play calling, in the way the players are not. I mean, I feel like they're giving up on these coaches somewhat. I mean, you don't see them finishing tackles. I don't see it. I don't see that need and that want. And I know a lot of people wanted Dan Quinn gone, but those guys played for him.
Yeah.
They played for him.
Was my thinking is that we have Dak and Micah Parsons is going to come back. Lawrence is going to come back. Bland is going to come back after the bye. So we have players coming back. I have us losing. Well, we'll get into that next week. Well, I'll just say, since I already said it, but I have us losing after the bye to the 49ers because we always do. Kyle Shanahan tree. But so we're going to start getting players back. But against these other teams, against the NFC East, Dak plays well enough, and I think this team plays well enough to just squeak by instead of blowing out all these bad teams. I think there's going to be closer games, but I think we're going to win just enough to really be in a terrible situation. Like I said, we're going to be right on the outside of the playoffs.
And the Eagles are having as many problems as we are right now.
We are. Yes, they are.
And so neither one of those, I mean, you can't. I think I had us splitting the games with them. We could take both of those. I do think that we probably could beat the Giants again. I'm not sure we're beating I almost called them the Redskins. I'm not sure we're beating the Commanders.
I have us beating the Commanders. I think they'll be close games. I think this isn't a knock on.
You have us beating both times or one splitting?
I have them beating both times.
Wow.
And the reason is I honestly don't think the Commanders are that good of a football team. I think the Commanders are.
Lacey, give me your phone. You're going into timeout, ma'am. But yes, that would be very much.
I don't think the Commanders are that good. I think they were beating up on a lot of bad teams. They got blown out and embarrassed by the Bucks. They were getting they were getting beat up by the Ravens, and they scored a late touchdown to try to make it a little bit closer. But I don't honestly think they're that good of a team. So I could see us beating them. And like I said, Dak plays exceptional against the NFC East. He always has. I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. But I just don't. I think we're a good enough team with these players coming back to where we're going to barely squeak by a lot of these games, these lower level teams, and finish with a record where we're like, hey, we won 10 games. We didn't make the playoffs. We won 10 games. You know, but we're in a terrible position,
And maybe
honestly.
I just had it in my head. I wanted us to finish 4-7 from here out.
Yeah,
We could
I would
get
love.
Genty.
Oh my gosh,
Please. I know it, you guys. I am
that
never
kid is
first
otherworldly.
round. I'm never first round running back. I think it's a horrible idea, but this time, yes. And if we have to have a Friday night mass to forgive me for it, we will. But that kid is just insane. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal to watch him play.
he's otherworldly. I don't think I've ever seen anything like what he's doing. Like he's on
Yeah.
pace to break all the records. He, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch him play, his balance, his
Do you
speed
think
is
do you
just
think
great.
he could be like Barry Sanders and of that
Yes,
greatness? Yeah.
yes, I do. Because one thing that made Barry Sanders so great was his balance, and Genty has that.
Hmm.
He has that. How many times have you just seen him collide with somebody, take a couple steps, and he's gone? You know,
Right.
so yeah, it's that kid is amazing, and so I think he is of that elk of Barry Sanders esque. And will he, health wise and team wise and everything, be able to reach that level? I don't know, but I think he has that level of talent. So man, it would be. Like I said,
Tank,
I'm not a
tank
running
for,
back, first round running back guy, but that kid is special.
yeah.
He really is.
I'm tank for Genty. And I know a lot of people are talking about Travis Hunter from Colorado, but I honestly believe, and I do have a bit of an issue with it. I think they are hurting that kid, that they are destroying his body, playing him on both sides of the ball
Yeah, he
all
won't do
game.
that. He
And
won't do that in the NFL.
yeah, he won't be able to do it in the NFL, but right now, I mean, what have we seen? 2 injuries already this year?
Yeah,
And um
and
I just
honestly,
I get that he says he would be bored if he didn't do it, but
yeah,
that's when the coaching has to come in and teach him to settle down and to focus on this one thing. And I understand he's very talented on both sides. I still think he's going to end up a corner when he
he
does come into
should.
the
He
NFL.
should.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I know a lot of Cowboy fans have been, cheering for him and wanting him in that way, but I think they are just beating that kid's body down by doing
Yeah.
this.
And I think the worst thing is that kid is uber talented,
Oh
like
yeah,
crazy
absolutely.
talented. The worst thing is that Dion is ruining that kid.
Mhm.
That not with just what you're saying, but with his attitude and with
Yep.
his and how
Yeah.
he's conducting and handling himself. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw it this week, but he's basically going on shows and podcasts and everything like that, basically complaining and crying that people are talking about Genty for Heisman and like
Well,
whining about it and how it should only be him and how Genty doesn't play both ways, so he should be Heisman and not Genty and stuff. Like it's a bad look, in
it
my
is.
opinion.
But that's the
So
culture that Dion
that's the
is
culture
promoting
of what
there at Colorado, and
yeah, 100%.
that's a whole not we could do a whole different other show about that. But
Jeez, seriously.
yeah, but
But that's draft talk. That's for later in the season. I don't know, later in the season, maybe a couple weeks into more,
I was going to
maybe a
say a
couple
lot of
weeks
my
more.
friends have already started doing mock drafts at this point because that's where we are.
That is where we are as a team, and that's hey, that's where Jerry has led us. You know,
Yeah.
so like you said earlier, he doesn't pay us, so we can say
Yeah.
this stuff.
Right.
He's averaging 10 yards a carry on over 100 carries. And the
It
craziest thing is he's averaging almost 9 yards a carry against eight-man
an
boxes.
man box. Yeah. And so's the
Absolutely
kid from
wild.
there in what's his name? We just played him from Iowa.
From Iowa, yeah, that kid's
Yeah.
really good too.
He's really good, and he's averaging, I think, like 8.9 per carry in an 8-man box. And of course, he doesn't have, the other numbers, But that kid's really good too. So if we had to grab him sometime in the second, beginning of third, it'd be kind of nice too.
Oh
But
yeah,
tank for
Hank for
Ashton. Let's
Ginty.
do it.
Oh my gosh, that's rough.
Oh,
So
yeah.
one more topic we had to discuss. I know our guy Tyler was on here a little bit ago. Hopefully he's still on. He's going to get excited about this topic.
Right.
Um, what do you think? And do you think it's possible? And are we seeing the development in Overshone? Do you think Overshone has the potential and will be that defensive leader in the future? He's going to be taking over and become that defensive leader for this defense.
I do see it. I really do. I think Micah has shown us his level of leadership or not wanting to be the complete leader of this team. We know that our time with Tank is limited. We
Mm-hmm.
we are getting towards the end of not having Tank on this team, and
Yeah.
he clearly came in. And I think I saw a comment today about how Overshone was still young, and I understand that. But Tank kind of was young and took over ownership,
Yep.
took over leadership of this team right on. And I do see that in Overshone. I see that mental toughness. I see that not quit. I see him talking to other guys. I see those qualities in him. I also like how mean he is, and that maybe that's going to flow over to the rest of the players in this team. And that can be a change in the culture that we need in this defense. And that we are known, you know what? Take that and that dose of JLu and put those together and put that throughout a defense. And my defensive heart would be very, very happy if
Yeah.
that could be it. But yeah, I see that in Overshone. I see that he's a smart player. Like right now, I think Kendricks is probably the highest football IQ on our
Yeah.
defense right now. But I see Overshone could get there. And dear God, if Sean Lee, if you would like to come off that beach in California or wherever you are, and you would like to come in and mentor this kid, that would be absolutely fantastic. If LVE, we talked about
One
this
hundred
last week,
percent.
if
Mm-hmm.
LVE could come off of, I'm sure he's about to start elk hunting, or elk hunting's already started. But
It's already
you know,
started, I believe.
if he could give him a couple of days a week, or just a few phone calls, maybe some FaceTime, and I really see Overshone coming in and becoming the leader of this defense.
Yeah, I definitely see it as well. I was a little bit hesitant with him because I thought that there was a possibility that he was a Dan Quinn guy. He's with that hybrid kind of role where hey, is he a product of what Dan Quinn wants to do on defense and everything like that? But he has shown that he's so much more than that. He can play in any system. His speed is insane. He runs and plays hard every snap. I was watching when I was watching a little bit of film on the Lions game. Like I said, I was watching a little bit of the first quarter, and there was a play where he just came downhill and he just threw his body into the blocker, just to try to blow up the play. He hit it as hard as he can. So not only will that help with leadership, that leading by example, showing that hey, I'm going to play hard, I'm going to do everything I can every single play, which is a big issue with some players, and especially we've had in the past. I think that speaks volumes. And then he is kind of like a guy who's becoming more and more vocal. He's going to learn, like you said, he's going to learn from Kendricks. He's going to gain that knowledge. I know he's probably going to have a new defense coordinator next year, so he'll have to learn a new system. That'll be 3 systems in 3 years for him. It sucks when that happens.
But then that could also help him,
It could help him. It could
understand,
help him.
silver
So
lining.
hopefully, yeah, silver lining there. It could help him, but hopefully he gets into a system and we get a coach and a defense coordinator who's going to last for a little while and build something around this kid that I think could be well. Because I honestly, I know that there's a trade Micah talk. I don't entertain that. It's, in my opinion, it's a dumb idea. It doesn't even make sense. But you build around him, and you build around Micah Parsons, you build around Diggs and Bland, and you have a defense that has a ton of potential. You really do. You have a defense that has a lot
And
of potential. You just got to fill some holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
Marist and Nealon
love both of
also
these.
guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you
Yeah.
have potential on that defense. You just here. This is Lacey's on it tonight, on fire.
Yeah.
You
She
you you
always is.
need you need that defensive tackle. You need that defensive tackle. So hopefully we get a defensive coordinator come here who emphasizes that. It stinks because Zimmer usually emphasizes defensive tackle. It's just maybe he couldn't convince everybody else in the building to go out and do it.
I think
Um,
that because they spent a first on Mozzie, that they're just they did the same thing with Taco on us too. We spent a first on him. We're going to
those
keep doing it.
Michigan
We're going to keep
players.
trying. Oh, that's besides J-Lu,
Yeah,
he's the outlier.
it took JLu a few years too, though.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, Schoon, Mozzie, I'm over it at this point.
Yeah, honestly.
Over it.
So
But
we got to do something, but I think that there's potential there. But it's kind of it feels like, and it felt like this in the off season. It felt like this in the draft. They're treating this year as a wash year, a reset year, and when everybody sees it and everybody starts to mention
they
it,
were all
we're
in.
talking about all in. The most
It
frustrating
makes
thing is
me feel like this. Where's my friend?
yes, there you go, there you go. Um,
Oh, cue the
it's
cat.
funny because Jerry Jones said a couple years ago, you wouldn't believe the size of the check that I would write to win another Super Bowl. And everybody assumed he was talking about a large check, but I think he was like, I think the
Actually
money
meant the
he was.
size.
I think people thought he was talking about a large number, but like maybe he was like, you wouldn't believe I'm talking like $3 or $4 here, like I'd write
He
three
meant
or
one of
four
the
dollars worth.
giant checks, those big ones that they hand out for the lottery winners, and he was just going to write on it really big,
Oh
two
my
dollars
goodness!
and
Like
50 cents.
when we know his son is the Dollar Tree shopper, so um,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Love that
like
for us.
we've talked about it. We know that they're last in the league over the last couple of years in cash spent. They're just there we go. There we go.
Yeah,
But
perfect, Jay.
this is the problem is that the Cowboy Stadiums is a tourist site,
It's
unfortunately.
it's it's a spectacle. It's
It's
an
a
absolute
spectacle
spectacle.
and it's a
Let me tell
tourist
you.
site. And so people who aren't even fans are going there watching the games. Opposing teams fans are obviously going there and watching the games. People are going and just sitting there watching the game, not even
People
cheering.
go to the Star and tour it. And I can tell you this. So less than 2 weeks ago, I was in Kansas City. I went to Monday Night Football. Arrowhead is great. It's a great stadium.
I
The
love
atmosphere,
Arrowhead.
we
Yes.
we have nothing like the atmosphere there. It's
Nothing.
fantastic. The amenities, not the same, but the atmosphere there. But we went and toured, the Royals. We went and toured Kaufman, and they were like, "Yeah, over there in the distance, that's their practice. The Chiefs practice. It's a tent. It's a big white tent kind of thing. It's not the same level as the Star. And here they are with 3 Super Bowls in the last 6 years, 5 years, or whatever
Yeah.
it is. And it's just everything is a spectacle. And until Jerry starts feeling it, as far as the media quits talking about him every single chance they get,
But they're
we,
not.
they're
That's the
not
main
going to.
problem.
I know. And I am still ready to lead the brown paper brigade at the games. I'm not going to spend a dime to get into the game, but because I will
Just
tell
go
you
out there
what,
and stand outside in a paper bag.
a big shout out to my buddy Mark. He gave me tickets for the Arkansas A&M game. We parked somewhere that it was free. The tickets were free, and I didn't buy anything inside because I'm refusing to give that man my money. Still, right
Yeah.
now, I can't do it. But I would love it
it's
if
rough.
all you people that still are going to go to the game would show up with the bag. The whole Saints, the old Cleveland Browns, bag over your head and embarrass the man. He
Yeah.
needs to be embarrassed because clearly he doesn't even think he embarrassed himself this week.
I think he's just I think he's losing his mind the way Al Davis was. He's just becoming senile. I don't know what can happen. If the league needs to step in and say, "Hey, Steven, you need to take over," which isn't going to be much better. But
Lacey, aren't you going in Atlanta? Or are you coming here for a game? I thought you were going in Atlanta. And I don't think I have it. Well, and here's the thing is that no matter what game you go, 34% of all gate sales, ticket sales, seat sales goes into a kitty that gets divided amongst all the teams. So he ends up, she's going to the Bengals game. Okay. It's fine. No. You won
tickets. That's not you spending your own money. You're good.
Girl, I'll message you, tell you how to park for free.
There you go.
So, well, congratulations on winning Bengal tickets.
Seriously, that's nice.
Fun. Yeah, but yeah, it's I don't know what it's going to take. I really, really don't. To hurt this man's ego, but
I don't know.
I don't know, but I do know that the money I'm going to save this year, I'm going to buy enough TVs on a wall to have multiple TVs and sit back and relax. And
there you go.
You know,
that's a lot better.
Yeah,
a lot better, honestly. But all right, well, that's it for the show this week. We'll be back next week. We'll let you know, probably same time, same day. Or somewhere around there. We'll let you know throughout the week. And we'll be preparing for San Francisco, who has been a bane
for us.
Yeah, what a time for us. After sitting in this for 2 weeks and then coming up to just get San Francisco. Gonna be great. Gonna be great.
Yeah,
honestly.
We love that. And we're still got our contest going on.
Yep, nobody predicted the game score. Nobody predicted the game score.
And remember, on that one, you have to subscribe to our YouTube, follow both of us, and Twisted Gorilla for that one, for the T-shirt contest.
Yes.
On that. And then we do have a brand new one this year that if we normally do bold predictions. Mm-hmm. And if so happens somehow, some way, and we've had our own bold predictions come true. But if somehow, some way in these next 11 games, Massey's bold prediction and my bold prediction come true, we are going to pick at random somebody that subscribes to our YouTube and follows both of us. We will be giving out a signed jersey to someone randomly if that does happen.
So hopefully we make some good bold predictions. Hopefully we have some good ones. We've had some good. We've nailed some good ones in the past. We honestly have. So we just got to both of us on the same page and hit that week, and then we'll give out that signed jersey. And then we'll have some other contests throughout the year. We're always going to have the weekly T-shirt contest for predicting the score right. I will put that up. I'll talk about it next week as well. I'll put that up next week before the game, San Francisco game. But yeah, we're going to try to have a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, and we will tweet out our YouTube. Yeah, we'll tweet out our YouTube for everybody to be able to follow and get your friends to do the same and get our numbers up there. So
absolutely, our tags are in the pictures here. So give us a follow so you can see when these contests are happening and when everything's going to be put out. So the information.
Yep.
So, well, hope you guys have a good week.
A stress-free football Sunday.
Free football weekend. Enjoy it.
Enjoy that because it'll probably be
going to get ugly
until January. All right, guys. Everyone have a great one.
Have a good one.